Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the third episode of Story, and it only takes one person to change history. What if a simple act of kindness results in 4 of Konoha's best friends? Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Let's get this party started. Shikamaru, Ino and Choji were arriving to the training grounds. Ino was very irritable and did not hide it from her 2 male counterparts. Shikamaru ignored her and Choji was busy eating breakfast. Ino did not like being ignored and voiced it. "You two slackers better do your part or I will not be held accountable for my actions," Ino said with a tone. "Are you ever?" Shikamaru asked, getting a glare from her. "Just sit down, Ino, and eat something." "I'm sure that we will do okay," Choji said, handing her a rice ball. Ino did not accept the kind gesture and Choji just shrugged. He handed it to Shikamaru, who took the food and ate. He really liked Choji's cooking. It would not be long until Asuma arrived. "Well, how are you doing today?" he asked with a little amusement. Everyone but Choji gave him a dirty look. Seeing the container of food, Asuma asked for one of the rice balls. Choji let him have one and Asuma indulged in it. "Wow, this is pretty good. Did you soak the rice in miso soup? Can we please get on with this?" Ino demanded. Fine. Well, the test is pretty simple. Your objective is to capture me. There are a few rules to this test. The first rule is that you must capture me within the forest area over there," Asuma said, pointing to the forest. "The second rule is that you are not allowed to leave the forest, but I can. You can use anything in your arsenal. You have 2 hours to complete the objective." "Is that all?" Shikamaru asked. "Yeah, that's it. I'll give you guys about 15 minutes to make your plans. That time starts now." The 3 Jonin dashed into the forest area. Asuma just stood there and lit a cigarette. He was curious as to what they would do. 30 minutes into the test and Ino was starting to get annoyed. When they entered the forest, she started to order them around. Shikamaru ignored her and began to walk near the edge of the forest area. He got out a kunai and tied a prepared tag to it. He stabbed it into the ground and moved on to the next corner. After the second one, Ino finally lost her cool. "What are you doing?" Ino shouted. "What does it look like?" "I'm setting the board so we can complete this troublesome test," Shikamaru said. "All you have done is put down some stupid kunai with some stupid tags. It's a waste of time," Ino shouted. "Look, I'm not going to get this done any faster with your damn whining. Just be quiet for a while and let me do this. Afterward, we will go after Asuma," Shikamaru said. "No, I'm done following you around. I'm the leader and I'm calling the shots now. If you jokers don't want to pass, then fine. I'll pass all on my own and leave you two to go back into the academy." With that, Ino took off, leaving the 2 boys alone. Shikamaru sighed in annoyance while Choji looked worried. He just followed Shikamaru, who just sighed and continued on with the plan. Asuma blew out some smoke as he walked around the forest. He figured that an attack was coming since her heard Ino's shouts. She really needed to be more silent. He walked but was alert for any attacks. It would not be long as he dodged some shuriken. That's when Ino burst out of the bush and attacked. Asuma ducked and dodged Ino's quick hit assault. He jumped away when Ino dropped to her knees. She was sucking wind as Asuma stood with his hands in his pockets. "That was pretty impressive display, but you don't have the stamina to continue. Maybe you should eat more properly so that this issue does not happen. You can't always depend on your teammates to bail you out," he said, amused. "Shut up because I've gotten my second wind," she shouted and charged. Asuma stood still as Ino closed in. That's when Ino found herself down in a pit. Asuma walked over and looked down into the pit. Ino was rubbing her sore butt. "How's that second wind?" Asuma asked with a smirk. All he got was a glare. Asuma just turned and vanished. Ino was quick to her feet and ran up the sides. Using a kunai, she stabbed it into the ground. She tried to pull herself up but she was still quite tired from earlier. As she was about to lose her grip, a large hand grabbed her and pulled her out. It belonged to Choji. He put her down and his arm returned to normal size. Next to him was Shikamaru. "Are you done now?" he asked in a lazy tone. Ino just gave him a glare as well. "At least I tried something." "All you two have done is stick kunai into the ground," Ino shouted. "Yes, and by doing that, we have effectively trapped him inside of the forest area," Shikamaru said. "What?" Ino asked, confused. "I created a barrier. It's a pretty simple one, but it's strong enough to keep him in here. He would need to find the markers to disable it, but he will be in for a surprise if he does," Shikamaru explained. "Besides, you running off just might have gotten us a fail, not that I care." "What do you mean?" she demanded. "This test was about how well we work as a team. He said only 33% of the teams will pass. That means only 3 teams will pass. That also means that there is a requirement for passing. The backbone of Konoha's strength is our unity, our teamwork. Come on Ino, think about it. It's not that hard to see why we were put together as a team. Shikamaru explained. If you knew about this, why didn't you tell me? Ino asked. Would you have listened in the first place? He asked. Ino had the decency to look abashed. Anyway, he isn't getting out, so let's get him to the spot that Choji and I set up. Shikamaru walked away with Choji following him. Ino soon followed. She wasn't really happy about it, but she would defer to the slacker, just this once. Asuma touched the barrier and was kind of impressed. He really forgot that the slacker of this team knew a bit about barriers. He guessed that there must be at least 4 markers around here. If he was a betting man, Shikamaru would put them at the corners of the forest. He would need to just disable one of them to take out the barrier. As he was about to do that, he heard the ground rumble. He looked toward his right and out came a large boulder. Asuma dodged the rolling boulder that crashed into the barrier. He jumped into the air to dodge several shuriken coming from the trees. Choji got out of his jutsu before quickly getting back into it. Asuma easily jumped over the attack. He pulled out a kunai and deflected some more shuriken. Choji got out of his roll again and came up from behind. This time he grabbed a staff that was thrown from somewhere. Choji began to attack, using his training. Asuma would just deflect or parry his attacks, but he was pressed a bit. That's when Ino decided to come out of her hiding spot and attack. Asuma kind of frowned at that. Ino was getting in Choji's way, causing his rhythm to be thrown off. However, Choji was able to work around Ino and continue to attack. As they engaged him, he realized that they were leading him. His guess was that Shikamaru was waiting. Not waiting anymore, Asuma caught Ino and tossed her into Choji before taking to the trees. He looked around for the elusive Jinan when he suddenly felt his instincts kick in. He ran across the large branch and narrowly avoided the shadow. He saw Shikamaru on the other side of the tree. He jumped down and landed on the ground, which suddenly gave way. He was trying to launch himself up when Choji's frame crashed into him. The plump boy closed up the hole and trapped Asuma. Ino came out and cheered. "All right, we caught him." She cheered. Choji also smiled and gave Shikamaru a thumbs up. Shikamaru just sighed, but he smirked at the victory. "Well, that was an impressive strategy," a voice said. Ino and Shikamaru looked to see Asuma step out of the grass, a cigarette in his mouth. They looked shocked to see him. He took a puff before speaking again. However, an alarm went off in the distance. "You're out of time." The 3 were seated across from Asuma. Ino looked like she wanted to say something and Asuma indulged her. "There was no way that you escaped. We saw Choji slam into you," Ino shouted. "True, but I easily countered that attack with a simple substitution," Asuma explained. "As you were told by your teammate, this was a test about teamwork and you showed just that, so congratulates on passing your final." The group let those words set in and he saw that they were happy. However, there are still a few problems that need to be addressed. "What do you mean, sensei?" Choji asked. "Well, let's start from the smallest issue to the largest. Ino, you are very loud and impatient. During this test, you belittled your comrades and didn't even ask for their input. You dismissed their strategy because it wasn't quick for you. In the world of Shinobi, that could get your team killed." Ino looked like she wanted to argue but held her tongue. "Choji, I know that Shikamaru is your friend and that you also don't like conflict, but the fact that you allowed that argument between your 2 teammates to escalate so far is unacceptable. You can't just side with Shikamaru all the time. He is not always right. Your taking sides is disrespectful to your other team members." Choji looked down at his feet in shame. "Shikamaru, I really don't know why you feel that it was right to not tell Ino about the truth about the test. If you had just done that, maybe Ino would have joined you sooner. You might be very intelligent, but such actions are borderline and will not be allowed. I don't really care if Ino is troublesome, you should have included her." Shikamaru just sighed and muttered troublesome. "Still, you did pass and I look forward to teaching you all. Meet me back here, bright and early tomorrow," Asuma said. He vanished to let the group celebrate their success. An hour after Asuma's test started, another team was getting ready to start their test. They would be tested by Kurenai. She looked at the group and saw that they were well rested. "Okay, my test is not so hard. We are going to place a game of ninja hide and seek. All you have to do is find me within 2 hours. It should not be so hard for each of you considering your clans," Kurenai said with a smile. "Ha, this is going to be a breeze for me," Kiba boasted and Akamaru barked in agreement. Someone's confident in their abilities. However, You shouldn't really count me out. I might be a new jonin, but I am quite strong in my own right. Also, while I might have praised you all because of what clans you come from, what make you think that I can't disable them? Kurenai asked, smiling. What are you talking about, sensei? Hinata asked. Well, why don't you use Byakugan, Hinata? Kurenai teased. Hinata did just that and was stunned. She's an illusion, Hinata stated. That's correct. Oh, and Shino, that was a very nice attempt with your bug. It's safely being taken care of at my home. With that said, Kurenai exploded in a cloud of rose petals. Kiba and Akamaru started to growl but quickly calmed down. The two sniffed the air for their sensei. While the Kurenai that vanished was an illusion, her scent was here. Sensei shouldn't have used those rose petals. They didn't hide her perfume. Let's go, boy, Kiba exclaimed, and the two led the team into the village. The two followed the scent until they got to the marketplace. That's when things got weird. Kiba and Akamaru were still getting the scent, but it was going in several directions. It was as if Kurenai was everywhere. I don't get it. Her scent is everywhere, Kiba said. She must have used that perfume and stealthily placed it on several people, Shino said. The perfume I get, but her scent is also mixed in. Kiba argued. My bugs do the same. They excrete their own scent so that they can be found easily. Shino countered. So, what can we do now? Hinata asked. We must find the bug I placed on her earlier. Even though she was able to find it, it must have some of her chakra, Shino said. He then used a beetle that came out of his coat. The beetle hoovers and began to move forward. The team followed the beetle toward Kurenai's apartment. Kiba, Akamaru, Hinata and Shino arrived at the building where Kurenai lived. Kiba turned to the person who led them here. How is it that you know where Kurenai-sensei lives, Hinata? Kiba asked. I've known Kurenai-sensei since I was 9. She was my caretaker and friend. I have stayed here in the past, Hinata said. The boys nodded and made their way into the building. They ran up to the 3rd floor and made their way to her door. That's when they came face to face with someone unknown. She had light brown, pupilless eyes. Her hair was black with a blue tint. She wore a fitted mesh bodysuit that stretches from her neck down to her thighs. Over it, she was wearing a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange miniskirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. In addition to the typical forehead protector, she also wore a small pendant that looks like a snake fang in a wristwatch. She looked at the three with a childish pout. I can believe that Kurenai was right. Damn it, you brats just costed me a bet, she said. The three looked at each other with confusion before looking at her again. Who are you, lady? Kiba asked. The name is Anko Mitarashi and I'm a friend of Kurenai's. I am also a part of your test. She figured that girlie over there, pointing to Hinata, would know where she lived. I'm here to make sure that you don't enter. She explained. Really? But it's 4 against 1. That's hardly fair, Kiba said. Someone's cocky. But what do you expect from an Inuzuka? If you think that you're so good, why don't you get by me? I'll even be nice and not go all out, Anko said with a grin. Kiba matched her grin and launched himself at her. Anko was impressed with his speed. Kiba then vanished and Hinata was in mid-strike. Anko caught her wrist and redirected the palm strike right in Kiba's path. The boy groaned and hit the wall. Hinata then had her arm pinned to her back. Anko then did something that made the young heiress squeak. Oh, someone is developing nicely. I can only wonder how they will grow in a few more years, Anko said with humor, groped the young girl's breast. She quickly released her and pushed her out of the way as a swarm of insects nearly consumed her. Shino ordered his bugs to catch the woman but she was too elusive. He guided her toward Akamaru who was in mid-air. Anko quickly pulled out something and whacked Akamaru on the nose. The small puppy fell and covered his nose in pain. Kiba saw this and got mad. He dashed forward to hit her but she quickly disappeared. Kiba would have been consumed by Shino's bugs if it was for him commanding them to stop. Anko reappeared, still guard Kurenai's door. The team regrouped and prepared. She is very skilled, Shino said. She is not nice, Hinata said while covering her chest. We need a plan to get past her. We only got an hour left, Kiba said. Checking on Akamaru, he saw that he was fine. He was pissed though and barked a few things to Kiba. Kiba widened his eyes at it. Are you sure, buddy? I won't be able to cover you if we do this. Akamaru barked some more and Kiba scratched his head. Alright partner, we'll go with your plan. Hey Shino, we need to blind her. Shino nodded and created a cloud of insects that covered them. Anko was curious as to what was going on until two objects jumped out at her. Anko could barely keep up as the two things moved in a zigzag pattern. However, she was not a jonin for nothing. Anko flashed her arm forward and caught one of the objects. She realized that it was that kid's dog. That's when she let out a yelp when she felt a sting. She looked behind her to see no one but quickly turned to see the Inuzuka in front of her. He gave her a cocky grin. Anko's hand went to her butt, which still stung. That's when everything came together in her mind. Did you spank my ass? Kiba's grin only got wide and that pissed her off. You little punk. Do you think that you have the right to touch the perfect apple bottom that is mine? She roared. Kiba just stuck his tongue out and bolted. Anko was infuriated. She tossed the puppy away and chased after the young Jinan. The other two walked up to Akamaru, who suddenly turned into Kiba. I hope Akamaru will be okay, Hinata said. I hope so too. Akamaru can go for a while before getting tired, Kiba said. Let's hurry, Shino said. With that, they entered her apartment. Kurenai was waiting. She looked up to the sun and saw that it would be 10 soon. She was curious as to where her future Jinan were. As she waited at the training ground, she was unaware of the army of insects coming up behind her. They were just within attack range and with a command, they launched their attack. They swarmed Kurenai, only to go through her. In the tree, Kurenai jumped out and launched several shuriken at the bushes. The move was countered by a barrage of shuriken. Kurenai landed and was attacked from two sides. While not very good in taijutsu, Kurenai easily defended herself. She was able to avoid any critical blows while doing hand seals. Genjutsu, haze, she said and created a clone. The clone charged at Kiba. Thinking that it was just a regular clone, Kiba charged forward only to have the clone explode into a whirlwind of roses. Hinata attempted to shut down her chakra but Kurenai was able to do another set of hand seals. Genjutsu, optic delusory. Hinata suddenly found herself in a field. She was starting to get nervous only to freeze up. It was as if her body would not move on its own. That's when she was back in the field and looked like she was bound to a tree. Genjutsu, Sylvan Fetters. I believe that is checkmate. She then turned her attention to the two boys who had just appeared. A very god strategy, but it was ultimately a failure. I wouldn't be so sure, sensei. Shino said in Kiba's voice. Why you don't have the right one? Kiba said in Hinata's voice. Kurenai's surprise quickly turned to worry, but she would not escape the insects that consumed her. The three Jinan changed back into their original forms and stood over Kurenai, who was drained of her chakra. Yeah, we got her. Kiba cheered. Hinata just smiled shyly at her victory. That's when Kiba put his arm around Shino. That was a great plan, Shino. Making the switch, she couldn't cast any of her genjutsu that would disable us. It was based off your plan from earlier. However, I thought we discussed this before, Shino said. Oh right, not touching. Sorry about that, Kiba said. Shino just nodded and the three were about to touch the woman. Just as they were about to tag her, she disappeared in a puff of smoke. The three were shocked. What the hell? Kiba shouted. I must say, that was a very clever plan. They all turned to see Kurenai appear like a mirage. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Well, as impressive as you were, your time has expired. That means that you all pass, Kurenai said. She giggled at their stunned faces. This exam was not to tag me but to see if you could work together. Our success and our failure when it comes to missions is how we gel as a unit. You all have your issues and your own individualities, but you are able to work together. I will enjoy teaching you how to be shinobi. Kiba returned to cheering while Hinata smiled. You couldn't tell with Shino. That's when they heard a loud bark. From out of the bushes, Akamaru jumped out and ran toward them. Hey buddy, guess what his sentence was cut short when Anko burst out of the bushes as well. Akamaru just kept running as Anko caught sight of her target. Kiba didn't even waste any time and took off, grabbing Akamaru in the process. Anko was right on him. Kurenai sighed at her friend and quickly followed. She had to stop her before she did something drastic. Naruto glared at the man that was his sensei. He was pissed off and so wanted to do something to the man. He just stood there with that stupid book, ignoring the heated looks that he, Sakura and Sasuke gave him. He told them to meet here at 6 a.m. It was the time he said, but he did not arrive until close to 11. What the hell was he doing all this time? Lucky for him, unlike his teammates, he wasn't hungry or ill-prepared. He ignored Kakashi's suggestion about not eating. He had done something like that before and had to be hospitalized when he fainted. Tsume, Hana and Yoshino had warned him about doing something so stupid again. He wasn't going to find out what dire consequences awaited him if he did. Also, while he waited, he did an overview of the area. It was a good area with several trees, a river and some open field. While not at Shikamaru's level of planning, Naruto could plan something for his sensei. As he stood there, Kakashi decided to pay attention to them. "I see that you all are eager," he said. He then pulled out 2 bells. "Your test is a simple one. All you have to do is take these bells off my person." "But there are only 2 bells, sensei," Sakura said. "That's right. 2 of you will become my students while the one without the bell will be going back to the academy," Kakashi explained. Warning bells rang in Naruto's head. Something was definitely wrong about what was just said. Something's up. All those tests that we took at the academy say that Konoha team are always in groups of 4 with 1 leader and 3 men under them. Why would they move from that? Is this a part of the test? You have until noon to get the bells from me. Come at me with the purpose to kill me or you will get nowhere. Is everyone ready? The 3 looked ready to go. "Then begin," Kakashi said. The 3 vanished into the trees. Kakashi pulled out his book and began to read. After a while, he looked up and searched the area. "Let's see. There is Sakura. She's not being too careful. Probably searching for Sasuke and not worried that I will find her. And Sasuke is to my right. He's hid well but his intent is not that hard to sense. Then there is Naruto." Kakashi looked around and did not see him. "Well now, where is Naruto?" That's when several things came out from the tree line and the river. Kakashi quickly pulled out a kunai and deflected the shuriken. That's when several copies of Naruto came out and charged. Kakashi was surprised and wondered what type of trick was this. Kakashi deflected a punch and realized that it was solid. The other clones attacked and Kakashi defended himself as best as he could. He realized that the clones were doing well in their attacks, none of them giving Kakashi any space. Kakashi was a little impressed. That's when he decided to dispel the clones. He did a quick spin, lashing out with the kunai in his hand. However, he was stunned when the clones didn't dispel into smoke but leaves. They swirled around, blinding him to everything around him. That's when he felt something on his waist. He quickly caught the something and held it in the air and away from him. It was Naruto who was trying to escape. The leaves stopped swirling and the 2 faced each other. "That wasn't bad, Naruto. What kind of clone was that?" "It wasn't the shadow clone jutsu. I know that jutsu very well," Kakashi said. "Like I'm going to tell you," Naruto said. "Come on Naruto, be a pal," Kakashi said with an eye smile. "How about you go to the hospital with 3rd-degree burns?" Naruto asked with a grin. Kakashi was confused until Naruto exploded in a burst of flames. Kakashi hissed and got some distance as he watched the legs of Naruto hit the ground before dispelling. Kakashi looked at his forearm and quickly put it in the river. He looked around but he could not find Naruto. He must have gone deeper into forest. He winced as the burn he got hurt like hell. This only made him more curious about the blonde Jonin in training. Naruto landed on the ground and stayed still. He didn't want Kakashi to find him. He was in a good area where there was a lot of cover. He was thinking about his shot at Kakashi and recovering some of his chakra. His firebomb clone took a lot of chakra to create. He could only make 5 of them. He was going over the fight he watched. There was no way he could compete with Kakashi. He thought that he could sneak up on him but that proved to be a mistake. He was able to grab his clone even with the fact that his leaf clone was filled with spearmint leaves. Naruto knew that he had to get to his teammates. They needed to join forces in order to combat Kakashi. He slowly made his way to speak to his teammates. Sasuke watched as Kakashi patched up his burn. He could have attacked right there but he was still thinking about what he saw. What the hell were those clones? When did that loser even learn such a jutsu? Sasuke thought. He tried to clear his mind and prepared to attack. That's when he felt something tap his shoulder. He spun around to strike but his wrist was caught. He turned to see Naruto. Naruto made a signal to be quiet and motioned for him to follow. Sasuke narrowed his eyes but complied. Once they were at a distance, Naruto began to talk. "Look, I know that we don't get along but there is no way for us to face this guy alone. He's really good and even with my distraction, he caught my clone as soon as he touched the bells. All I am asking is that we team up. If we work together, we can take him down," Naruto said. Sasuke gave Naruto a hard look before scoffing at him. "You might need help but I don't. If you can't do it yourself, then you need to give up," Sasuke said in a condescending tone. Naruto glared at him but just sighed. He turned and left Sasuke. Sasuke turned back to focus on Kakashi. He didn't care what Naruto thought. He would get those bells and do it on his own. Naruto went in search of Sakura. While he knew what her answer would be, he had to at least try to convince her to help. That's when he found her but so was Kakashi. He sighed at the fact that Sakura did not notice him. He took out some shuriken and threw them at Kakashi. Kakashi jumped out of the way, startling Sakura. Naruto jumped down between them. He looked at Sakura and sighed due to how she was too shocked to help. "Get going, Sakura. I'll cover you," Naruto said. The pinkette didn't even spare him a glance and took off. The two looked at each other before Naruto went for his pouch. Kakashi was already on him and had his arm in a lock. He forced Naruto to a knee. "Not this time, Naruto," Kakashi said. "What do you mean? I'm not Naruto," the blonde said with amusement. Naruto started to glow and Kakashi jumped away. That's when Naruto exploded into leaves. Kakashi sucked his teeth for being played again by the blonde. He decided to turn his attention to Sakura and Sasuke. Naruto took off the cloak that he was hiding with and watched as Kakashi left. He wasn't happy that he could not count on either of his teammates. He would have to go it alone. He left to get ready. Kakashi was now searching for Naruto. He dealt with Sasuke, which was impressive, and Sakura, who was a disappointment. So far, Naruto was the best out of the three. He knew that he couldn't take him alone and went to get help. For that alone, Naruto passed his test. However, he couldn't just pass him. He had an idea on what to do, but he was still a little curious about his blonde-haired student. What else did he have in his little bag of tricks? Kakashi tracked him down to a wooded area. He decided to go in slow due to not knowing what could be happening or what was waiting for him. He moved slowly, keeping alert. As he moved, he felt the hair on his neck begin to stand. That's when he made another step and was suddenly taken out by an explosion. Kakashi reappeared on a branch. He looked around for the blonde when he had to use a substitution as weapons came at him from every angle. He landed on the ground and watched as several branches fell to the ground in pieces. When they hit the ground, it set off a bunch of explosives. "Man, he is really trying to kill me," Kakashi muttered. That's when several balls came at him from several directions. They blew and a thick smoke surrounded him. Kakashi was choking, wondering what the hell was in this smoke. He needed to get out and jumped upward. When he jumped out of the smoke, 6 clones came at him. Kakashi pulled out a kunai and defended himself. He dispelled the clones and cursed because of the leaves. It wasn't just the leaves, but it was something obstructing his vision. It is because he never saw Naruto snatch a bell from his belt. Naruto hit the ground and did a roll to get to his feet. He took off while Kakashi was still disorientated. Naruto kept running and was happy that he held a bell. He burst out of the bush and was home free, but he was surrounded by several copies of Kakashi. Naruto looked at the group with wide eyes. Well now, that was a good plan. A little excessive though. "So, what's stopping me from getting that bell back?" Kakashi asked. Naruto was looking for a way out when the timer went off. Kakashi raised an eyebrow while Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Naruto sat down and caught his breath. Kakashi just scratched his head at what just happened to him. Sakura and Sasuke waited as Kakashi entered with Naruto. They regrouped near the posts and Kakashi stood in front of them. "Well, I have to say that the new curriculum has done wonders for at least one of you," Kakashi said. The other two looked at Naruto, who revealed a bell. The two were shocked by this. Sakura was more genuine than Sasuke, who looked annoyed that Naruto succeeded. Seeing that Naruto succeeded in getting a bell, he is now a Genin. "You can go now, Naruto." The blonde was about to leave but stopped himself. If there was one thing he learned since hanging with the Nara clan, is that not everything is as it seems. He was thinking about this test and there was something up. "Hey, what was the point of this test?" Naruto demanded. "What do you mean?" Kakashi asked. "There is no way we could have beaten you one-on-one. The way you dealt with my clones, you are way too good. If the timer hadn't gone off, you would have gotten back the bell. You're a Jonin, we're Genin. There is no way we would win even if we teamed." That's when it hit Naruto. Looking at Kakashi, he watched as he gave him a nice smile. "This was about our teamwork? Very good, Naruto, that's exactly what this test is about," Kakashi said happily. But the bells, the condition," Sakura stated nervously. "They were all Mr. X. I wanted to see if you could put aside your differences and work together. All those drills you did in the academy, I thought the top kunoichi would see that they were always done in teams," Kakashi said, making Sakura look down at her feet. He then looked at Naruto. "So, what are you going to do, Naruto?" The blonde looked at Kakashi and then at the other two. It would be a few moments before he sighed. That's when he pulled off his forehead protector. He held it out in the bell. "You know what this means, right?" the Jonin asked. "Yeah, but for the team, I'll make the sacrifice," Naruto answered. "Well, then," Kakashi stepped forward, put his hands on Naruto's and pushed them back to him. "Congratulations, this team has passed and it is all because of you," he said with a smile. "Why does that loser get all the credit?" Sasuke demanded. "He knows the value of teamwork. He came to you for help and you ignored it. He turned to Sakura. He comes to your aid and you abandon him. Naruto knows his limits and know when to count on others. The truth is, I should fail you too while trying to get Naruto on a Jonin squad. However, I'm going to change the rules. While I might have accepted you as my team, I do not like your teamwork. So, I'm going to run you two through some teamwork skills. If you fail, then you all fail. I'll give you time to eat and get ready. Afterwards, we will start." "Naruto, you don't need to be here," Kakashi said. "I think I'll stay, help them out," Naruto said. "Very well," Kakashi said with an eye smile. Hiruzen listened as each Jonin reported whether they had a team or not. Surprisingly, there were mostly successes than failures. Teams 5, 8, 10 and 15 had all passed their test. They showed good work and their Jonin were impressed with them as Shinobi. It was an improvement from the last class, as only Guy's team was the only one still together. He was now convinced that the academy's new curriculum was better. They would still have to tweak it, but Hiruzen was happy. Now, all he was waiting on was Kakashi. Just as he spoke, the Jonin entered the office. The one-eyed man was surprised to see so many Jonin. 4 teams passed? That's impressive, Kakashi said. That's when Asuma noticed the bandage in his charred clothing. What's up with the bandage? Don't tell me that the great Kakashi actually got hurt against Jonin? Asuma mocked. Yeah, one of my Jonin showed some unique skills. Kakashi answered. You mean the Uchiha kid? Asked one of the Jonin. Sasuke is impressive, but it was Naruto that got me. He was also the only Jonin to get a bell off me, he said, shocking the Jonin. Kakashi looked at the Hokage. Team 7 passed, but there is a lot of work to be done. Explain, Hiruzen said. The truth is, Naruto is the only one deserving. He figured out the bell test, if only unconsciously. He went to Sasuke for help and Sakura from my attack. He might have gone it alone to get the bell, but he was willing to give up the bell and his forehead protector for his team. I ran them through teamwork drills, which Naruto stayed for to help them. They still don't really have it down, but they did well enough for me to accept them. Good, we have 5 teams listed. This is very good, Hiruzen said. Lord Hokage, Kakashi called out, getting his attention. I must ask you about Naruto's ninja skills. His records clearly underestimate what I went through today. If he had the help of his teammates today, I could have seriously gotten hurt. Kakashi explained. What are you talking about? Kurenai asked. I knew he had some skill in Fuinjutsu, but it seems like he had a level that would take years to develop. He managed to use sealing formulas. I found them after he took the bell from me. He has somehow created an explosive formula that does not require any chakra to activate. If you step on it, you're going to die. Then there was that clone. I knew about his leaf clone, but he has something called the firebomb clone. It gave me first-degree burns. Kakashi explained, again shocking the Jonin in the room. The firebomb clone was something he created right after his leaf clone. He showed it to me personally, even taught me something new. It is a useful jutsu despite the chakra usage. As for that explosive note, it was something he developed for the Hunter Nin division. He calls it a mine. It is buried under some dirt or anything and activated with a seal. All it needs to activate is pressure. Naruto has made quite the name for himself due to his Fuinjutsu. A few ninja actually go to him. Hiruzen explained. The Jonin were all stunned by what they just learned. Just how skilled in Fuinjutsu was Naruto? Shikamaru, Akamaru, Kiba, Naruto and Choji were at Ichirakus. They were happy and laughing as they had all passed their test. Shino could not join in and Hinata had to go home. So it was just them and they were having fun with Ayame and Tenchi. That's when Naruto stood up and held up his bowl. I would like to make a toast, Naruto said. With ramen? Asked Kiba. Shut up. Anyway, I would like to make a toast. To us, new Jonin of Konohagakure. We will use everything and do anything to make sure that we keep the will of fire burning, Naruto said. Yeah, Kiba said. Arf. Akamaru barked. Here, Tenchi said. Good speech Naruto, Choji said. Shikamaru sighed but raised his bowl. After that, they continued to celebrate. It would be early in the morning when all the teams reported to the Hokage's office. Today would be the day that the teams would be getting their first missions. All 5 teams were waiting for the Hokage to give them their missions. Well then, shall we get started? I see that you are all excited for your first missions. Just don't be so surprised by how lackluster they are in the beginning, he said with a smirk. Everyone looked at him with confusion. He just handed out 5 missions to the Jonin and they also chuckled. Everyone suddenly got nervous. "This is BS," Kiba shouted as he cleaned out the kennels of the Inuzuka compound. He couldn't believe that this was a mission. He was even more angry when he learned that the request from his sister. He was so going to get her back for this. "Now, did you really think that you would be doing missions outside of the village?" Kurenai said with amusement. But, this is humiliating," Kiba shouted. He nodded aside at her friend and gave him a look. "Kiba-kun, I know that it is embarrassing but it must be done," Hinata said. "Yes, your arguing is not going to make this go any faster," Shino added. Kiba sighed and got to work. As he cleaned it out, he muttered something out. "I bet Naruto feels the same way I do. This is bullshit. What kind of mission is this?" Naruto shouted as he slammed the paintbrush down. He looked at his sensei who was reading his stupid book. "Kami, can't you just stop being loud for one day?" Sakura asked rudely. "I don't know, can you act like a proper kunoichi because your grades don't reflect it?" Naruto countered. Sakura growled at him but just ignored him to continue painting the fence. Kakashi sighed and put his book away. "Listen Naruto, this is just the way that things are. You are just starting out and you will not be given bigger missions until you can do these missions. The more you complain, the harder it will be for you to get a better mission," Kakashi explained. Naruto scoffed but relented and grabbed the paintbrush. He continued his work on the fence. As he worked, he knew that Kiba would be thinking the same way about this. However, he knew that Shikamaru and Choji wouldn't be as annoyed as them. "I bet they are just enjoying these missions," Naruto muttered. "This is total unacceptable," Ino shouted as she was doing some manual work. Shikamaru and Choji just ignored her and continued to do the work. Well, Choji did the work as he was the strong one in the group. Shikamaru was doing his part, taking care of the weeds. Ino was the one who was doing the planting. She looked at Asuma who watched over them, smoking his cigarette. "How can this be a mission? These missions promote teamwork. Trust me, you guys can use it," Asuma simply said. Ino just growled and went back to work. Shikamaru finished his work and went to help Ino. The truth is he didn't like this mission either but he wasn't going to say anything. He knew what Kiba and Naruto would say and he wasn't about to let them. It would be 2 weeks of D-rank mission for each of the friends. Naruto and Kiba were constantly complaining but they did the work. During those 2 weeks, it was pretty clear who was at the top of the Jonin teams. Team Kurenai's teamwork was one of the best. Their mission success rate was higher than all the teams. The 3 worked well together and they had the fastest time on the Capture Tora mission. They were well trained by Kurenai who had first mothered them but then toughened up and trained them to be ninja. The third best was Team Asuma. While they were a good team, they had some issues. The main issues were Ino's bossiness and Asuma's laid-back attitude. Ino was bossy as ever due to the fact that the 2 boys ignored her. It really pissed her off and affected her skills. Asuma's laid-back attitude was a little bit of a problem. He did train them but he always took his time. While Ino was annoyed with it, Shikamaru and Choji took it just fine. Asuma took time to play shogi with Shikamaru and he would always spar with Choji, improving his skill with a staff. The 2 were fine with how things were. The worst team out of the 5 was Team Kakashi. Their teamwork was horrible. Neither of the members would work with each other. They did not like each other and were always rude. Even the simplest of teamwork exercise were a bust because of how they acted. Naruto was the one who was the most annoyed with the team and his sensei was an issue as well. He was always late, he really didn't do anything to curb the others' actions and he never really trained either of them. He only kept teaching them about teamwork exercises. It got to the point that he would just skip out on training. In all, things were just beginning for the new Shinobi. Naruto was standing with Hiruzen, Koharu, and Homura. They were in a room where there were several large scrolls. Naruto was nervous about what was going on but the Hokage put his hand on his shoulder to calm him down. That's when one of the scrolls began to unroll. There were words coming through on it. One of the people in the room checked the message and walked up to the Hokage, Naruto and the elders. He looked at them and smiled. "A successful test, sir. Alpha team has just reported in from the land of hot water," the man said. Then there was another person who came up to them. "Confirmation from Beta team in the land of wind." The woman said. This is just a work of genius." She looked at Naruto. "You have revolutionized how we do things, young man. I'm sorry if I doubted this." Hey, don't worry about it." Naruto then focused on the Hokage. The man smiled at him and they walked out of the room. They walked over to his office with the elders. "You did a very good thing, Naruto. This will help us determine on the field issues as they happen and we can plan accordingly, Hiruzen said. Who would have thought that my plan to get past Iruka-sensei's eyes would help you out in such a way? Oh man. I am totally going to rub this in his face, Naruto said with a smirk. Despite your juvenile acts, you have done huge acts for the village. Your security measures are some of the best that I have seen. Some of our best have a hard time defeating them, especially your design for the vault here in the tower, Koharu stated. Thanks for that and I'm sorry about that guy's hand, Naruto said with a sheepish grin. His wounds will heal fine. Do you have any other ideas? Homura asked. I think that will be enough for today. Naruto's mind needs to rest for now. If you have any requests for him, I will set it up so that you can speak with him. I will be there as well, Hiruzen said. The other two nodded and went on with their business. Hiruzen once again smiled at the blonde and decided to treat him to some ramen as a reward. The sound of two staffs hitting against each other was heard in the backyard of Choji's home. The young Genon was currently engaged with his father in a staff battle. Shikamaru was there but his attention was on a scroll that he was reading. His attention was interrupted by an oomph. He looked up to see Choji on the ground. Choza helped his son up to his feet. Dusting him off, Choza smirked at his son. You've gotten better, son. Master Do has really done his job well. Would you like to continue your lessons with him? I know that your schedule is getting hectic with you doing missions now. I can take over if you want? Choza offered. Thanks Dad but I'm okay for now. Besides, Master Do is a great teacher and is very patient with me. I'm okay for now, Choji said. He then turned to his best friend. Hey Shikamaru, what are you working on? It's a new barrier jutsu that Naruto gave to me on the down low. My mother caught my dad and threatened him so bad that he couldn't help me anymore. Shikamaru explained. Choza laughed when he heard that. Your mother, as do most women, have the ultimate key when it comes to controlling men. It is something that every man needs no matter how troublesome it can be. Seeing the confused looks on their faces, Choza waved it off. You'll learn when you are older. Anyway, what type of barrier are you learning? It's a much stronger version of the perimeter barrier jutsu called the capture and arrest jutsu. If I learn this, it can open up some strategies for us, Shikamaru said. The two nodded at him and went back to their spar. Kiba was doing something that was a new thing for him, reading. He was doing this and it really hurt his mind. The reason for reading was that he wanted to add something to his tunneling fang. The idea came up when he was improving the power of his jutsu in front of his teammates. They were impressed with the ability when Hinata mentioned adding an element to the jutsu. Kiba thought about that and thought it would be cool to learn something unique. However, he was having a hard time figuring it out. Wow, now this is a sight to see. Kiba turned to see his sister. What do you want? Kiba asked sourly. Oh come on, you're still not sour about what happened are you? I pranked you and you got me back. Although, you had to get Naruto involved in this and he will pay for what he did, Hana said with a growl. Kiba just smirked at that. He didn't know how Naruto did it but he had a laugh and Hana got more suitors than ever. Even their mother was happy about it. Oh come on, you're still sour about that? Kiba asked mockingly. Hana just narrowed her eyes before turning to the text he was reading. She looked at it and was curious about what he was learning. She figured it out instantly. You're trying to add an element to your tunneling fang? Hana asked. Yeah, Hinata mentioned it and I thought that it would be cool to have something unique. Kiba answered. Sorry to burst your bubble Kiba but someone in the clan has already accomplished that, Hana said. What? Who? Kiba asked. Elder Amon is the only person I know who can do it but it took him years to master. You can ask but you know that you need permission from the council to see any of the elders, Hana said. Oh man. That sucks, Kiba said with a whine. Hana felt a little sorry for him and decided to give him some advice. Well, maybe you can do a collaboration jutsu. If you learn a jutsu that covers any part of your body and then do the tunneling fang, it might work, she said. Kiba sat there and thought and admitted that was a good idea. Yeah, that could work. Thanks a lot sis, Kiba said. Hana smiled at her brother. A buzzing wind was heard through the air. It flew until it hit a stone. There was an explosion and two people waited until the smoke cleared. When it did, the younger of the two was not amused. Ah man, I thought it would work this time, he said with a pout. Don't pout Naruto, it was better than last week. There is more damage than before. You can't expect this jutsu to be ready in only a week. The older man said. Yeah, but you can't deny that it would be an awesome jutsu Iruka-sensei, Naruto said with a grin. Well, it might be powerful but it is anything but awesome, Iruka said. What do you mean? Naruto exclaimed. When I tweak it a little, it will cut through anything. Yes, and that is a positive. However, it takes too many hand seals to create, and there is the accuracy issue. Unless you can guide the jutsu after you launch it, your rate of success is probably 30%. I'm not saying that it isn't a powerful jutsu, but for you to use it, it will have to be when your opponent is not expecting it, Iruka said. Way to bring down my buzz, Naruto said with a pout. Iruka just chuckled at him. Unknown to either one, a third person was watching this from afar. His eyes narrowed as he saw the potential of this jutsu. He noticed how Naruto would come to the team meetings a little winded. He decided to follow him and saw that he was using Kakashi's lateness as a way to train. He had to keep his distance because he was always with either Iruka or that scar-faced Jonin. Seeing that they were leaving now, Sasuke decided to leave. He would get to the bottom of Naruto's newfound abilities when he wasn't surrounded by others. Kiba was petting Akamaru and feeding him some pieces of cooked meat. Shino was busy doing nothing while Kurenai and Hinata was talking. They had just finished their D-rank mission to deliver an important scroll to an outpost. It was kind of insulting to be delivering mail, but at least they got out of the village. Kiba didn't want to boast, but his team was one of the best. Even the Hokage agreed. Either way, he was just going to enjoy his lunch. "Excuse me." A voice called out. The team looked around, but they did not see anyone. "Down here please," the voice said. They all looked down to see a cat. The cat was a light-colored brown with darker markings along his ears, on his cheeks, paws, and tail. It was wearing a simple blue kimono with mesh armor underneath, held closed by a simple white sash. On his forehead is the kanji for Shinobi. They all blinked at the cat and was wondering what was going on. "Did that cat just talk?" Kiba asked. "Yes, I did. I saw your forehead protectors and I need your help," the cat said. "Since you are talking, I am assuming that you are Ninja Cat. How can we help you?" Kurenai asked. "We have an emergency in the Sky Ward. Someone has heard that we keep weapons of a certain clan under our care. We were threatened by some ninja, but we easily dealt with them. They returned however and kidnapped Granny Cat's granddaughter, Tamaki. We are trying to search for them, but they have covered their trail. Please, we need the Leaf's help," the cat explained. Kurenai thought very hard about this. "While I would like to help you, we would have to go back to the Hidden Leaf just to tell the Hokage. This request is at least a C-rank mission and we need our leader's permission," Kurenai explained. The cat looked saddened by that. Kiba was a little annoyed because he was about to miss out on a C-rank mission. Man, if I still had my scroll, I could send a message to Naruto and he could tell the Hokage. Kiba growled. Kurenai looked at her charge with confusion. That's when she remembered something and reached into her pouch. It was a small tube that she was given at the gate. It came with a small brush and a compartment that held some ink. She remembered the small meeting that all the Jonin, including the Yonbu, had to attend. "Is this the scroll that you were talking about, Kiba?" Kurenai asked. The team looked at the scroll and were surprised by it. "That's Naruto's scroll. Why do you have it, sensei?" Shino asked. "You little friend created something for everyone. From what I understand, messages can be sent and received?" Kurenai asked. "Oh sensei, it does more than that. I'll tell you what to do. The first thing you do is write the message." Kurenai nodded and took the small brush and wrote out the request. When she was finished, Kiba continued. "Okay, focus your chakra and touch the scroll. The words will vanish and it will go to the other scroll. Then we just wait for a reply, which should not take long." Kurenai focused her chakra and touched the paper. The message disappeared and all they had to do was wait. It would only be a few moments when words appeared on the scroll. Kurenai looked at the message. "Team Kurenai, the request will be fulfilled by you. You are tasked with the retrieval of Tamaki and return her safely. This is a C-rank mission and pay will be negotiated later. Should the mission difficulty increase, inform me quickly and assistance will be sent." Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Hokage's seal, was on the scroll. Her team read it with her and Kiba was excited. "Oh yeah, we're getting a C-rank mission." He cheered. "That's enough, Kiba," Kurenai said with seriousness. "While a C-rank is not hard, it is not easy. It is now time for you all to be serious and professional. Am I understood?" "Hi sensei," they all said. "Good." She then turned to the cat. "I'm sorry, I did not get your name." "My name is Denka. Thank you for your help in this matter. Everyone, gather up your things. We are heading to the Sky Ward," Kurenai said. Training was over for Team Kakashi and the Jonin had left his Jinan to do something. As they were leaving the area to do their own thing, something surprising happened. Sasuke, after ignoring Sakura for a date, called out to Naruto. The blonde looked a little surprised but went back to his dismissive look he always gave his team. "What?" Naruto asked. "What's with the scroll?" Sasuke asked, pointing to the large scroll hanging off his back. Naruto recently began to carry the scroll. It was the scroll he got from Ibiki when he graduated. It was actually his personal scroll that he wrote down all of his ideas for jutsu. He never carried it before, but that was because he couldn't afford a strap for it. He saved up enough to buy one so that he could take it with him when he worked out his jutsu and make notes. He was curious as to why Sasuke was so interested in it. "What's it to you?" "It's just a scroll." Naruto answered him with a tone. "Is it where you keep all those jutsu you know?" Sasuke asked demandingly. Again, "What is it to you?" Naruto asked hard. He didn't like the way Sasuke was eyeing his scroll and decided it was time to get going. He turned to leave the training ground, something that did not please Sasuke. The Rookie of the Year quickly moved to take Naruto's scroll. However, he got the shock of his life when he was blasted by a burst of wind. Not only was he sent flying, his clothes received several cuts. Sakura was instantly at his side. She turned and glared at Naruto. "What did you do, Naruto?" Sakura demanded loudly. "Me? That jerk just tried to take my scroll. What the hell is his problem?" Naruto shouted. Sasuke growled and stood up. "What was that loser?" Sasuke demanded. "None of your damn business. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a report to make," Naruto said and did some hand seals. He vanished in a puff of smoke. Sasuke and Sakura was glaring at the spot with rage. Sasuke was not going to let this stand. He was going to get a change of clothes and he was going to find Naruto. He left with Sakura trailing behind him. In an outpost near the Sky Ward, 4 men waited for that old woman to give them what they wanted. Each of them had a forehead protector with the symbol of their village. That village was the former Heat Devil village. They were survivors of the destruction of the village and swore to get their revenge from the ninja of the Valley Country. They had heard the Uchiha clan of the Hidden Leaf village had weapons stored in the Sky Ward and was watched over by the Granny Cat. They believed with those weapons that they would have their revenge. At first, they tried to reason with her and pay for the weapons. The old cat woman was stubborn and refused them. They resorted to force and were quickly defeated by her cats. It was a humiliation that they would not stand for. They waited and kidnapped the child. They left a note for the old cat and told her what they wanted. That was 3 days ago. "This is taking too long." The Kunoichi said. "Look, I'm nervous too, but we need those weapons. Just imagine it when we have weapons from one of the founding clan of the Hidden Leaf, we would be unstoppable and we will be able to pay back those valley scum." One of them spat. "Still, what if that stubborn cat went to get help from the Hidden Leaf?" she asked. "Don't worry so much," the leader said. "My guess, that old woman is using those stupid cats to try and find us. After they can't find us, they will have to give in to our demands. If they were to go to the Hidden Leaf, it would take 2 days. Then they would negotiate and that will take time. By then, the old cat will give us what we want and we will be long gone. You guys are going to get it when Granny Cat catches you." A voice shouted. The person who shouted in small little girl. She had shoulder-length brown hair and she wore an orange sleeveless blouse with a dark red shorts, fishnet stockings, and sandals. "You shut up, rat!" Another ninja shouted. He made his way over to her and retied her gag. The girl struggled but she could not get free. Unknown to them, a small bug flew out of the hideout and made its way several feet to the east. It landed on the finger of Shino. Shino just looked at the bug for a moment before facing his team. There are 4 of them. Each one is covering an area, making approaching silently and unseen difficult, Shino said. Kurenai nodded at him and looked at Hinata. "What do you see, Hinata?" she asked. "Shino-kun is right. There is no easy approach. Strength-wise, they are only tuning level," Hinata said. Kurenai nodded and brought her team together. They were with several cats who were sent by the Granny Cat scent. The old cat woman was very happy for the help. While Kiba and Akamaru were bothered by the cats around them, they were able to pick up the trail fairly quickly. He led them out of the ward into a neighboring ward. The small outpost that he led them to was nothing grand, but Kurenai could see that it could easily be defended if one knew what they were doing. "Okay, we are not going to be able to sneak in. I could probably use my genjutsu to approach, but I do not know if they have a sensor on their side. Are there any suggestions?" Kurenai asked. Everyone was trying to think of a way. After a while, it was Kiba that spoke. "What if we force them out?" Kiba asked. "Using force might put Tamaki-chan in danger," a ninja cat said. "I don't mean a frontal assault cat," Kiba said harshly. "I mean, what if we draw at least 2 of them out? That cuts down their visibility. If we distract them long enough to get close to the shack and take them by surprise. It is a sound plan, but we still can be caught if they have a sensor on their team. Kurenai explained. Not if my bugs take out the sensor before he can signal his friends. They are small enough to avoid detection. Shino added. Kurenai thought about it and could find nothing wrong with the idea. They began to discuss what their next move will be. It was close to noon when one of the men stood up suddenly. Everyone was up and alert. What is it? The leader asked. It's a kunoichi, and judging from the chakra, she's a jonin. The man said. The leader looked out to see Kurenai walk out with 2 cats. He saw the symbol and cursed. She's a leaf kunoichi, he stated. There's no way. They could have never gotten here fast enough. The kunoichi exclaimed. Calm down, he hissed. He looked at the others. You two, stay here and keep the guard on the brat. You're coming out with me. Something tells me that she's not alone. They nodded and went to complete their objective. The man stepped out with his kunoichi subordinate. The 2 sides looked at each other. I thought that stupid woman would have been smarter than this. My name is Kurenai Yuhi, jonin of the Hidden Leaf. I am here to negotiate the release of the girl you have, she said. I don't see any weapons with you. Since you don't have those weapons on you, then we have nothing to negotiate about, he said. You are being unreasonable. I do not want to have to use force in this situation, Kurenai said. Maybe I need to make my point clear. How about I have one of my men cut something off the girl and send it back to the old bat? He shouted in frustration. That would be a mistake. The second you make any move against the girl, these ninja cats will tear you apart. You don't want a repeat of what happened the first time, do you? She asked. The leader snarled and was about to do what he said. Kurenai acted quickly and vanished like mist. The 2 pulled out their weapons to defend themselves. Fang over fang. The shout came. The kunoichi turned toward the sound and was blasted from 2 sides. She was sent spinning in the air. She was dazed, confused and hurt. She only caught sight of 2 spinning drills coming at her at incredible speeds. The second strike took her out of the fight. Kiba and Akamaru, who was transformed like Kiba, came out of their spins. The leader cursed and wondered why his sensor did not detect him. He was doing hand seals when he suddenly could not move. He looked to see that he was now ensnared in a tree. Appearing from the side was Kurenai. You should have released the girl, Kurenai said before hitting him with a horrible genjutsu. He screamed before falling down unconscious. Kiba and Akamaru walked up to her. Remind me never to make you angry, sensei, Kiba said, earning a chuckle from her. They heard 2 thoughts from the shack. The other 2 men from inside was immobile. Shino and Hinata stood next to each of them. Tamaki was standing behind them. The cats who were with Kurenai quickly went to see if she was okay. The 2 walked up to Kiba and Kurenai. What did you guys do to them? Kiba asked. Once I took out the sensor, Hinata knocked out the other one. Tamaki was not harmed. Shino explained. Well team, we are not done yet. We must escort Miss Tamaki home, Kurenai said. They nodded and made their way over to their saved victim. Oh Tamaki, I'm so happy that you're safe. Granny Cat said as she hugged her grandchild. The separated and the old woman faced the group. I can't thank you enough for your help. I know that I will have to speak with your Hokage about this. I will thank him personally. We can escort you to the Hidden Leaf if you like. Kurenai offered. You have done enough for my family. After I situate everything here, I will be arriving. I hope that you will meet us at the gates. Granny Cat said. I will inform the Hokage. If you will excuse us, Kurenai said. With a bow, all 4 shinobi left their home. They were out of the Sky Ward and making their way home. As they walked, Kurenai turned her attention to her team. Team, I am very proud of all of you. You did your assignments with professionalism and completed your first C rank with little difficulty. Be proud that you were able to complete that. Thank you sensei, they said. The rest of the trip was done in happy silence. Team Asuma stood in front of the Hokage. The old Kage looked at the team with a critical eye. You believe that they are ready for a higher mission? Hiruzen asked. I know that they have issues, but they are a well put together team. I know that they will do their best on a C rank. Asuma answered. Very well. Actually, I do have a mission that will use at least one of your Jonin skills. Do you know the name Fujita? Hiruzen asked. He's a business mogul. Made his name by finding natural hot springs and building around them. He owns several hot springs around the countries and has made a lot of money. The hot springs that he owns are the best, Asuma said. Recently, he sent a request. Apparently someone has been trying to kill him. He has nearly been killed several times, the attempts to look like accidents. Your mission is twofold. You are to protect Fujita. The second part is to investigate these accidents. Since you have Miss Yamanaka, she can scan those around him. However, she must be very discreet about it. Do you accept this mission? Hiruzen asked. Yes sir, we accept this mission, Asuma said before turning to his team. Alright guys, gear up for a long mission. We'll meet up at the gate in 1 hour. They nodded and quickly left the Hokage's office. The team was geared up and waiting for Asuma to arrive. Ino was giddy due to the fact that she would be the important part of the mission. It was something that annoyed Shikamaru and he hoped that she would listen to the Hokage and be discreet. Asuma arrived and he started to usher his team out. Just as they were leaving, Team Kurenai was coming in. Hey, I didn't think a delivery mission would have kept you away for so long. Asuma commented. Sorry, we took a C-rank mission out in the field. I need to report it to the Hokage. Kurenai answered. Wait a minute, how did you guys get a C-rank out in the field? Ino asked demandingly. It might have to do with Naruto. I'm surprised that he was able to keep quiet about that, Shikamaru said. Ino looked at him for answers but he ignored her. Anyway, we have to get going. I'll see you when we get back? Asuma asked. Kurenai just smiled and ushered her team into the village. Ino was still asking about what Shikamaru said but she was still ignored. Asuma just sighed and accepted a scroll from an amused Kotetsu. The team moved out to do their mission. Naruto looked at the 3 cups with a critical eye. Across from him, Ibiki looked at the young blonde with a serious face. After a while, Naruto picked the cup to the right. Ibiki raised the cup and under it was a small metal ball. Ibiki was amused and looked at the blonde. 5 out of 5, you're improving, Ibiki said. Well, it's as you told me. It's all about focus, Naruto said with a grin. Naruto would meet with the interrogator 2 days out of the week. The point behind the training was to improve Naruto's mind and get him to think before he leap. Ibiki also gave Naruto pointers on how to read people and the situation. Naruto was still the type to think on the fly but he was slowly becoming better at surveying things. So kid, why are you skipping out on your team? Something going on? Ibiki asked. DCH, I'm not on a team. I don't know why but I think that I'm being punished. Naruto answered. Ibiki looked at him and Naruto continued to talk. You know that 2 days ago, that prick Sasuke tried to take my scroll? I'm lucky that I've protected all of my stuff with seals. Oh, here's the kicker. I go to my sensei and complain about the attempted thief. You know what happens? Nothing, he does nothing. He doesn't punish Sasuke. Instead, he tries to get me to drop it. Really? I tell you that someone tries to steal something and you're telling me to drop it? What kind of jonin is this guy? That's pretty harsh, Naruto. The two turned to see Kakashi. He didn't have his book out this time. I only told you to let it go because it was a lapse of judgment. I spoke to Sasuke and I did warn him about his actions. He will not bother you or attempt to take your scroll again. Is that all you did, Kakashi? If I was running the team, Sasuke would have been suspended for his actions. Just because the boy has a superiority complex does not give him the right to take his stuff. A stern talking to will not stop Sasuke from trying again, especially since he's been spying on Naruto's extra training, Ibiki said. I will deal with my team, Ibiki, thanks, Kakashi said. If you were dealing with your team, Hatake, they wouldn't be the worst among the rookies. That is a fact that you cannot dispute, Ibiki stated. Kakashi didn't really like the way Ibiki was talking to him but he did not comment about it. He just turned his attention to Naruto. It's time to go, Naruto. We have a mission that we have to get to. Kakashi ordered. Naruto sighed and gathered his stuff. He turned toward Ibiki. Same time? Naruto asked. Yeah kid, I'll have a new exercise for you. Ibiki answered. Alright then, I'll see you around, Ibiki-sensei. With that, Naruto walked away with the silver-haired jonin. As they walked away to meet the rest of the team, Kakashi gave Ibiki a look. Ibiki saw it but he didn't even flinch at the man. They walked away and was gone. Ibiki was a little worried about the blonde. He hated to admit it but he grew on him. He had a sharp mind and he was glad to work with it. It was also a little bit of an ego trip that he got to teach the son of the fourth. Still, he was concerned about Naruto due to all the issues that were surrounding his team. The fact that Kakashi did nothing to stem the problems was something that was upsetting. He respected him for his skills but it was slowly starting to go away. He was a veteran of the Third Shinobi War, he should know better. He would take this up with the Hokage but he felt that it really wasn't his business. He just hoped that Naruto could handle it for a little while. He was pretty sure Kakashi was going to keep screwing up and Naruto would do something about it. Meanwhile, Kakashi was thinking about a way to solve this problem. He truly did not think that Naruto would be this angry. When Naruto came to him, he only saw it as a little misunderstanding and told him to drop it. After Naruto stormed off in a huff, he did speak to Sasuke and did tell him to leave Naruto alone. Sasuke was not too happy about it but reluctantly agreed. He thought that things would go back to normal, but that wasn't the case due to the fact that Naruto sent his clone to deal with the team. It also did not help that he would speak with Iruka or Ibiki and not him. Kakashi was really starting to worry. He promised both the Hokage and Tsume that he would be the perfect sensei. However, his team was not going the way that he thought. His team was among the lowest of the 5 rookies, which really bugged him. He needed to get this team together and fast. Perhaps it was time to get a C-rank mission. Team Asuma was at work, checking out the latest accident that was plaguing their client. It took a day and a half to arrive at Fujita's business. The man was very friendly but a little paranoid due to all these accidents. He introduced the team to his assistant, Hironobu. He was a quiet man who was also very friendly. For 2 days, the team protected their client and also investigated the accidents. However, things were not going as planned. Ino did not really take to heart the fact that she had to be discreet. She went up to some of Fujita's workers and immediately scanned their minds. She was at least caught 3 times and she started to annoy several people. Hironobu was also very annoyed and demanded her to stop. Asuma quickly apologized for his non-actions. Due to that, they had to investigate these accidents the old-fashioned way. Choji decided to cook for Fujita and some of the workers. He was a big hit and was able to get some information for some of his workers. When Fujita was nearly killed in a construction accident, Shikamaru was looking at everything at that moment. He saw some things that confused him. After he got all the information, he decided that a team meeting was in order. They waited until it was nighttime to talk. Shikamaru secured Fujita with a barrier and set up similar barriers that would alert them. Now alone, the team decided to talk. "Okay team, what have you found out?" Asuma asked. "Well, I didn't find anything out because you benched me," Ino said with annoyance. "Perhaps when we get back we can work on your stealth skills. Besides, you managed to get something when you helped me protect Fujita." Asuma countered. "I didn't learn anything. All I know is that he is frazzled about everything. The only thing I could gather is that he was worried that he might have offended some of his competition," Ino said unimpressed. "That is something that I got too. Some of the workers think that the main guy is someone named Yugo. The two used to be partners until Yugo began to make some decisions about the business. Fujita cut ties with Yugo and took all of the business. Some of the workers say that Yugo was pissed about it and still is until this day." Choji explained. "So are we thinking about assassination for hire?" Asuma asked. "It would be the best bet. That accident was done by a jutsu. There were marks on the metal that would have split apart with all the construction going on. The metal was just too cleanly cut for a blade. However, I think that's something up with these accidents," Shikamaru said. "What do you mean?" asked Ino. "The accidents seem amateurish. Whoever this assassin is, he doesn't want to kill him or hurt him. This guy is going out of his way to make sure that Fujita isn't caught in the accident. So that only means 2 things. Either this person is not so skilled," Shikamaru said, "or they're being forced. He doesn't want Fujita hurt but they have no choice. However, they are going to have to do something soon. By now, the employer is getting restless and he might go through with their threat. We need to figure this out and fast. We should talk to Fujita in the morning. He might have some answers," Asuma stated. Everyone nodded and began to get ready to do their jobs. Fujita looked at the team with surprise. Hironobu was also surprised but Shikamaru noticed that his expression was not like Fujita's. "So you think that it is someone who is being forced to kill me?" Fujita asked. "From everything that we have investigated, that is the conclusion that we have come to. We would like to know if you hire people with loved ones." Asuma asked. "There are men with families that I employ. I'm close to some of them and their families. Hironobu can get you the names of these men?" "I can. I'll get them right away," Hironobu said. Shikamaru continued to keep his eyes on Hironobu. It was a stupid thing that Naruto did to him, Choji and Kiba from time to time. Hanging out with that Ibiki guy, Naruto kind of became a human lie detector. The blonde could tell if they did something even though he wasn't with them. Naruto would boast that he learned a simple way to figure out if someone was lying. It was observation. Naruto just looked at things around him and he could usually know what they did or not. It was stupid to Shikamaru but he was now starting to see that it may have some merit. Hironobu was nervous. The small twitch he caught meant that he knew something. Shikamaru also, discreetly, noticed his hands. They were rough and had cracks. It could be from construction work, but from his size and the presence that he had, he was more than just a construction worker. He also seemed to care a great deal for his employer. Shikamaru deduced that he had found his assassin. The only question is why. It looked like they would need Naruto's scroll after all. Kiba and Akamaru growled at the cat that the daimyo's wife was currently squeezing the life out of. While he could understand Tora's plight, the little furball was just too violent. He had the scratches to prove it. Anyway, he turned his attention back to the Hokage. A nice job well done. Do you wish for another mission or are you done for the day? Hiruzen asked. I believe that we are done for the day, sir, Kurenai said. The old man nodded and returned to his paperwork. Kurenai was leading her team out when someone entered the office. It was the granny cat and Tamaki was with her. Ah, if it isn't my granddaughter's saviors. I was hoping I would run into you. The old woman said. Oh? Kurenai said. Granny Cat took 3 scrolls out of her robes and handed them each one. That is a thank you for everything that you have done. You didn't have to help but you did anyway. You have my eternal gratitude and this is a way of showing it, she said. Wow, that's neat. Are they jutsu or something? Kiba asked. I think that they will help you. I picked what I thought would further your strength after I got a look at you. I hope that you accept them well. The team bowed and thanked her before walking away. Kurenai decided to let them open their gifts at home and they would do a reveal tomorrow during training. They agreed and went their separate ways. Kiba and Akamaru sped home to open their scroll. They went to his room and opened the scroll. It was a jutsu like he thought. Lightning attack, this looks real interesting boy, Kiba said with a smirk. Team Asuma was sitting around, waiting for Hironobu. As they waited, they were discussing Shikamaru's thoughts. You have no proof, Shikamaru. All you have is a theory, Ino stated. It's the only theory that makes sense. Everyone else at this site is a construction worker. They wouldn't have the skill to pull off what we found. I saw his hands. He has skill with a weapon. Fujita even confirmed that Hironobu acts as his bodyguard and that he is training from the Iron Country. Taking that to heart, we can assume that he was a samurai and the samurai of the Iron Country know how to use chakra. Shikamaru explained. I still say it's a waste of time. I also think that scroll won't work. It was made by your pal, Naruto, Ino said smugly. That's when Asuma looked at the scroll and words started appearing. He read them and absorbed everything that was written. Well, it seems that you owe Shikamaru and Naruto an apology, Ino. I just got the information. It looks like your theory was right, Asuma said. What? Ino asked with shock. Hironobu Noto was a samurai of the Iron Country for 12 years. He served under Lord Mifune and was one of his most trusted soldiers. He was known to be one of the best executioners and he's made quite a reputation among us. What few know is that he is a son with a woman but he did not take them with him as he left the Iron Country. He's very good at Iaitsu and can use wind-type techniques. That makes sense if he was that good of an executioner, Asuma said. Shikamaru just looked at Ino who huffed and turned her nose up. Choji then looked at Asuma. So are we thinking that his son was taken? He asked. Hironobu is a man of honor. He wouldn't betray Fujita unless something or someone he really cared about is threatened or Fujita dishonored himself. We can assume that it was the former. Whoever wants Fujita dead, must have his son, Asuma said. So what do we do now? Shikamaru asked. We keep up appearances. Ino and Choji will be helping me in guarding Fujita. Shikamaru, I need you to follow Hironobu and see where he goes. Report back when you get something, Asuma said. Shikamaru sighed in annoyance at the work he was about to do. Hiruzen has seen and heard some things during his time as Hokage. He had always processed it with the wisdom of his years. However, he was seriously wondering how he was going to process the request that his Jonin just asked of him. It wasn't an unusual request as it has been done before. Still, things were changing within the village and he was now thinking things through. I do not know about this Kakashi. While it may succeed, it could also backfire. The reports do not lie. Your team's teamwork is among the worst. Do you really want a mission that could just as easily worsen your team's dynamics? Hiruzen asked. I understand your concerns but maybe a dose of reality will make them see that they do need each other to succeed. Also, I believe that we have done the necessary amount to apply for a C rank. I have faith in my students and I believe that they are ready, Kakashi said. Hiruzen looked at him with hard eyes. He sighed as he gave his answer. I have my reservations but I will allow it. I have a mission that just came in. A man needs protection while he builds a bridge from the Wave Country to the Fire Country. It's a simple mission that should be easy but you still have the threat of an attack. I hope you know what you are doing, Hiruzen said. Kakashi thanked his leader before leaving with the scroll that was handed to him. Hiruzen put his hands under his chin. He hoped that he did not regret this decision. Shikamaru sighed as he kept a lookout on the town. He had been following Hironobu for the day. He kept a fair distance as he was taught in class. He did not see him go anywhere far from Fujita until a few minutes ago. That's when he entered the town where the workers like to unwind. He watched as he went toward the edge of the town. From what Choji gathered from the men, they tended to stay out of that area. He watched Hironobu enter a bar. Using the transformation jutsu, Shikamaru entered the bar. He looked around the place until he saw Hironobu sitting with another man. The man he was sitting with was a balding, pudgy man. From what he can see, he was not happy with Hironobu. He also scouted 3 thugs who were also looking at the table. Shikamaru kept a distance from the two as to not arouse attention. He didn't have to get close because the man was loud enough to hear. "You're stalling. You should have killed Fujita already," the man shouted. "What can I say, the Konoha team is good," Hironobu replied. "Don't play dumb with me. Do you remember what I have? I have your son, the son that I never knew about. It's a good thing that I now have Gado's resources or I would have never known," he said with a smirk. Hironobu glared at the man. "You're a coward with no honor." Hironobu snarled. "You are bitter because Fujita kicked you out of the business. And why wouldn't he? You started doing deals with that snake Gado. You know who he is and what he does. You got yourself kicked out, Koga, not me. If you harm my son because of it, I will kill you. Then do what I say, executioner. You got until sunrise or I will kill your boy and his mother," Koga threatened. He and his thugs stood and walked out of the bar. Shikamaru waited a while before following them out. Once outside, he undid the transformation and quickly tailed Koga. Shikamaru kept to the shadows and followed the group. He traveled for 5 minutes to a rundown house. He carefully moved closer to look inside. He caught sight of a young boy and a woman. They were guarded by 2 more thugs. He quickly made his way back to the camp. He needed to tell Asuma before it was too late. Hironobu looked at his katana. He felt proud when he held his blade. It had saved his life several times and he had the honor of using it for his service to Lord Mifune. However, he was going to use this katana to kill his friend. He did not want to and he avoided it for as long as he could, but this was his son. He was innocent and he did not deserve to die. He could not let him down, not again. Putting the blade into his belt, he turned to leave his tent. As he exited, he was confronted by the Genin. He saw that they were prepared for a fight. "So, you figured out that it was me? I do not want the blood of children on my blade. I especially do not wish to end the Hidden Leaf Shinobi. Out of all the villages yours has the most honor," Hironobu said. "We thank you for that, but we cannot allow you to do this. We know that Koga has your son. We can help with that," Shikamaru said. "I'm sorry but I cannot take that chance. Step aside, children, or I will go through you." "Troublesome," Shikamaru said and did a seal. Choji and Ino charged forward and Hironobu pulled his katana from his belt. Keeping the weapon in its sheath, he blocked Choji's staff thrust. Ino came around to attack from the flank but the kunai strike was blocked as well. He continued to block and parry their attacks while keeping his eyes on Shikamaru. He grabbed Ino by the wrist and drove his knee into her. Choji came in and attacked relentlessly, using his training. Hironobu was pushed a little by the big child. "Very good, in a few years, you can become a master," Hironobu stated. Choji did not react and kept up his attack. Hironobu noticed that Choji's attacks were only stalling tactics and attempted to move forward. The key word being attempted. His movement was stopped and he could not move. "Ino, now," Shikamaru shouted. "Ninja art, mind transfer jutsu," Ino exclaimed. Hironobu felt his body freeze up more and his eyes closed. They opened up again and there was a different feel to him. "Hey, that's for the knee, old man," he said in Ino's tone. "Careful, Ino, he's a skilled samurai. I heard that they are skilled mentally as well as physically," Choji warned. "I've got this." Hironobu's eyes closed again before a burst of chakra sent Choji flying, sent Ino back into her body and Shikamaru to lose his hold on him. "Impressive, but I have fought a member of the Yamanaka and the Nara. I have counters for those techniques. I am asking you to give up now and let me do this so I could save my son," he said. The 3 got to their feet and stood in front of him. He saw that they were not moving inside. He put the katana back in his belt and put his hand on the hilt. "I would not draw that sword, Hironobu. If you do, you will lose whatever honor you have in front of your son," Asuma said. Hironobu turned to him and saw that he was with his son and his mother. Hironobu was shocked that they were safe. To the other side of Asuma laid a beaten-up Koga. That's when the young boy spoke up. "Daddy?" he asked, shocking him. He looked at the woman who just smiled at him. Hironobu looked at the boy and nodded. Happy, the boy ran up to the swordsman and hugged his leg. Hironobu got down to his knees and embraced his son. Everyone looked at the scene with smiles. Hironobu was kneeling in front of Fujita. His son, Homatsu, and his mother, Kwari, were to his left and Team Asuma was to the right. Hironobu had his head down. "I am sorry, my friend. I do not deserve to be at your side," he said. "Hironobu, you don't have to explain yourself. The Konoha team explained everything to me. Your son was in danger and you did what you thought could save his life. Think of this as a new point in your life, my friend," Fujita said. "What are you talking about?" Hironobu asked, lifting his head. "You get to know your son and his mother. You cannot miss this opportunity, especially since they will be traveling with us. You can think of this as your penitence to me. Get to know your son and let us continue to create places for regular people to relax," Fujita said. He held out his hand and waited. Hironobu looked at the hand, then to his son who smiled at him. The woman did so as well. He turned back to Fujita and took the hand. "Thank you for this, Fujita. I do not deserve your mercy," Hironobu said. Everyone felt happy for the new family and renewed partnership. It took another 3 days for the hot spring to open. They would have been back to the village sooner but Ino wanted to be the first to use the new faculties. After saying their goodbyes, they returned to the hidden leaf. They were standing before the Hokage and had just finished giving their report. Hiruzen smiled at the team. "Good job everyone, even if my orders went ignored," Hiruzen said with some amusement. Ino had the decency to look ashamed at her actions. "Was there anything else you would like to add to your report?" "Yes, the guy that we captured and turned into the authorities, we have some information." Ino redeemed herself when she gained some information. Apparently, this Koga guy was working for someone named Gato. On the outside, he is a reputable businessman but Ino discovered who he truly is. "With all we gathered, it is enough for the daimyo to go after him. If you want, you can set up something between our daimyo and the daimyo of the Wave Country," Asuma informed him. "The Wave Country? What are you talking about?" Hiruzen asked with concern. "The Wave Country is where Gato's corporation is now. My guess is that he has probably gotten control of the islands," Asuma said. Hiruzen immediately called for his secretary. The woman entered and looked at him. "I want you to contact Kakashi now." The secretary quickly left to what she was told. Asuma and his team looked very confused. Naruto looked at the situation with narrowed eyes. He needed to do something and fast. He had a plan to save his idiot teammate and his idiot sensei from the very strong jonin named Zabuza Momochi. He only hoped that he did not get cut down in the plan. But what was really frustrating was where the hell was their backup? Kakashi did call for them, right? He should have when they fought the Demon Brothers a day and a half ago. Scoffing at how things were going, Naruto just got ready. He was about to show Zabuza that you don't mess with an Uzumaki. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.